Thank you. And
Yes. Okay.
again, so sorry about that.
No problem. All right. So, perfect. And thank you for having us. My name is Chris Sidler. I'm the Senior Vice President and Division Lead for Transportation at Lead Consulting. Over the last 18 years, I've had the privilege of providing and supporting a number of municipalities through strategic parking planning management solutions and developing them, really focusing at a high level, developing policies and strategies to uh, really integrate parking into the broader multimodal context that they have. And um, joined with me today also from Lee is Jocelyn Wallen. She's my deputy project manager on this file. And then, as on a personal note, myself, I was born and raised in St. Catharines before moving off and going to university. And Jocelyn is a resident of St. Catharines, just outside of the downtown core. So we're very local and very excited to have been part of this project over the last little bit. So a little bit about who we are as Lead Consulting, just to provide you a little bit of a background for it. We're a Canadian consulting firm focusing on planning and engineering services, providing services for both public and private sectors. We really are focused on understanding the context that we're working within, providing a data-driven approach to developing solutions. Overall, we're looking when we look at parking, we really look at understanding how parking systems can really exist in a way that supports the economic development and sustainability, as well as the various different planning objectives within the municipalities. We really do understand uniquely how parking really does influence travel behavior, how it can affect land use patterns, and really has an effect on the overall vibrancy of urban areas. We work closely, all levels of government, stakeholders, and the public to really bring forward a good consensus-based strategies when we're developing our parking. Worked really across the country, coast to coast to coast. Had the opportunities doing a various number of municipalities and really been able to help them look at how they're providing parking, whether it be in their downtown cores, their waterfronts, their transit-oriented communities, and really help deliver a system that's efficient, that's accessible, and that's really future ready to serve both the short-term needs as well as the long-term visions for the communities. By way of background on the study itself, we are building upon a series of other studies that have been taken by the city that have really primarily been focused on understanding the parking supply and the various different usage patterns that exist within the city. But unlike those previous studies, our review is a little bit different. It's a focus that's a little bit more on the service delivery approach. What that means is it's a focus on how the parking system is being managed, really looking at exploring the opportunities to enhance the user experience, improve the operational efficiencies, and really ensure the long-term financial sustainability of the parking services as a system. Overall, we're looking at making sure that we're going to be continuing to satisfy the city's objectives when it comes to parking, which is ensuring that we're able to provide parking within acceptable and reasonable walking distances for people, making sure that parking is accessible, safe, and attractive, ensuring that sufficient parking is provided for the present and as well as the future needs of the community, and ensuring that the parking system is self-supporting in one that provides a minimal cost to the user itself, but will also has a without a greater reliance on the general tax base. So the scope of our study really takes it more towards those operational considerations with respect to the with parking services, really focusing on the model in which the parking service is being delivered, as well as a number of operational elements. Particularly, we looked at a very detailed review of the facilities and very different management procedures that have been undertaken, a number of the back end systems integration, as well as the enforcement procedures that are happening. Overall, we reviewed specifically considering the opportunities to provide all of the various different opportunities within focusing within the downtown as well as the special provision areas. Our study really had four key phases to it. The first one was an existing conditions review where we really sat down and went with a fine-tooth comb through the city's operations, understanding the organizational structure, the various different systems that are in play, operations, and as well as enforcement. The next component was looking at best practices and really beginning to situate what some of the opportunities and challenges that we identified within St. Catharines, how do they sit within and how do other municipalities address those? Focusing on policies, how facilities are managed, the various different systems that people are using, as well as the enforcement procedures and organizational structures within municipalities. The third opponent focused primarily on the service model. And this is about really looking at various different options to provide parking services in the city, whether about increasing or decreasing the amount of private or contract operators within the model. And finally, the stakeholder and public consultation. So this is when we get the opportunity to come out and meet with all of you to be able to engage with the general public and those that have major stakes in parking and really begin to identify what we're recommending as part of it and help to get a better understanding the on what our recommendations are moving forward. So the next little bit, I wanted to walk a little bit into some of the challenges and opportunities that we identified as part of doing our study. So the first one that really came to mind as we started to go through things, which was with respect to the overall revenue streams that we were identifying within parking services. Over the last 4 years in particular, there's been a stark decline in the amount of revenue that has been being generated by parking services. And this was identified as a trend that was not going to right itself. It was going to be expected to continue. And this was a major challenge for the city in being able to provide a sustainable parking services over the long term. The next component that we looked at was with respect to the payments and permits procedures that are ongoing within it. We did identify that generally that the daily and hourly rates, their hourly rates are set at $2 an hour, has increased only 50 cents over the last 7 years. There is also separate parking, special event parking rates that are charged during those events, which range from $5 to $10 for typical events, 20 for special significant events. But the key thing with that is that it doesn't cover the associated costs in operating for those typical events. The next component was with respect to monthly permits, and that we identified that we're not able to efficiently accommodate the new working from home that people have been doing over the last 5 years. And as a result, this means that there is a number of parking spaces that have been reserved for people with permits, but we're not being able to open those up for other uses. The next component is with respect to the beach parking, integrating rates with $3 an hour during the maximum and seasonal resident permits of $15 a month, really making it accessible for residents to come down in those areas. The next component was with respect to enforcement that we looked into. Enforcement really has always been a little bit of a challenge. The key issue that we've been struggling with in St. Catharines is that the approach is very limited in its capacity, and it's not very responsive to changing needs and demands. It's really based on a manual system that requires a complement of enforcement officers to walk the streets and provide the parking in order to enforce the parking. This operational model really relies on external staffing, which offer little alternatives and recourses when in order to address various different performance issues that have been identified. The next component with respect to enforcement is the technology platforms that they're working within. There are, and through our course of the work that we identified, there are four different backend databases that are used in order to manage the various different permits that are issued, and that they're not all compatible with each other. And this requires the enforcement officers to review each of the databases in order to ensure that a permit has been purchased. And if this isn't done accurately, this tends to lead to tickets that are being issued that um, are not correct and require further future cancellations as a result of that. So, due to that prone inaccuracy, this does create additional work that is not necessary. Beyond that, the cost of enforcement has also been increasing over the last 4 years. That this has been something that is independent of the amount. It's not like there is more space that is being enforced or more tickets being issued. It's just that the cost of enforcement has increased over the last 4 years. The next component, and this is really more of an opportunity that we began to identify, which is with respect to the parking supply that is being provided within the downtown area. Particularly, the city operates almost 1,600 parking spaces in the downtown. These are mixed between on-street, surface lots, as well as parking garages, which accommodate the vast majority, about 1,000 parking spaces within the parking garages. Overall, across the downtown area, there's a very good coverage of parking. It covers most of the commercial and office core, as well as the entertainment destinations. Generally, between the on-street and off-street parking locations, they operate below an 85% overall capacity, which is a good number because then that is the number that people are able to find parking when they arrive at places. It is full, but it's not too full that they're not able to find parking. This also indicates that there is an amount of activity in downtown that we're able to accommodate. There are some concentrations of activity within the downtown area that means that during some peak periods that people are not necessarily able to find parking, the closest parking to their destination, and that they may end up having to walk a little bit in order to find it. But the parking does exist within the downtown area. The next component is with respect to planning policies, and the city's been pretty progressive when it comes around to planning policies that work with transportation. Really looking at reducing a number of the minimum parking requirements for future developments within the downtown core, really encouraging more compact, walkable, and transit-oriented developments. And this is essential when it comes to creating a downtown core that's really vibrant and accessible. This works really well when it comes to public parking as they begin to work with each other in a very mutually beneficial way, reducing, allowing for a reduction in the development costs, encouraging further activity, but being also ensuring that the parking supply is being used beyond just the core office hours, and also bringing people in for the evening periods as well. Really, so promoting flexibility within the development, supporting intensification, as well as aligning with the broader city objectives to really pushing a system that's built on economic resilience. The last challenge opportunity that we identified was how the city uses parking to be able to support the community and the broader community. That this is something that we really liked when we looked through the how parking services was provided within St. Catharines. Really, how you're able to use parking services to support local events and festivals, offering the discounted parking in order to improve accessibility and encourage the participation in those events. Really being able to activate the parking lots for temporary community uses, whether it be markets or pop-ups or cultural programmings, being able to remove barriers during special events, to helping businesses to attract more visitors and enhancing downtown vibrancy. And really demonstrating that parking is something that can be flexible as long as we prioritize the people and the placemaking along it. So building on those, what we wanted to do as we came out of the identification of those opportunities and challenges, we really wanted to build a set of practical and forward-looking directions that we wanted to integrate within the parking services. And the first component that we really wanted to focus on was building and optimizing a set of systems and technologies in the back end. Not necessarily the most glamorous component on things, but it's something that we felt was really going to create a major change in how parking services was going to be operating within the city. This would allow for a more connected platform across the various different permits and payment processes, opening up an opportunity for enhanced data analytics, and really being able to enhance the user experience, improve the internal coordination, and really support better decision making overall. So while it may not necessarily be the most attractive component, we feel it's going to have a very significant change in how parking services is operating. The next component is really moving away from some of those more manual operations that are currently existing within the system, reducing the components that are requiring individual manual integration and moving into something that can be more automated and routine, whether it be from enforcement to reporting. Looking at ways that the city can really improve the efficiency, reduce the errors associated with it, and allow staff to really focus on more higher value work component with it. And with that includes integrating different types of technology, including license plate reading technologies, to ensure that we're moving away from enforcement officers that are having to walk the beat and issue tickets manually to a more automated manner of doing that. The next component is with respect to understanding a flexible and future-oriented system. And this really is about beginning to integrate some of those new technologies, exploring better understanding as to how the parking is being used, and providing the appropriate tools and frameworks in order to better respond to not only the short-term needs, but also long-term transformations. The next component is how is something that we want I indicated as something we really like, as something we really do want the parking services to continue to do, being able to support the city's broader needs and priorities within the area, being whether from downtown revitalization, encouraging the appropriate mode shifts in travel behavior, or accessing key community destinations. We really see the parking system as a ways that it really should be able to be existing there to enforce the planning and economic goals of the city. And then finally, with respect to the fee structure, we are recommending that the city look to establish one that reflects not all and responds to the actual demands that are within the area, and something that supports reinvestment into the system and continues to remains fair and transparent for all. And we really do feel that pricing can be a powerful tool if it's managed and being able to shape behavior when it's applied thoughtfully. So overall, we really feel that these recommendations begin to offer a path towards a more efficient, responsive, and strategically aligned parking systems. So the next set of slides that I have goes into a little bit of some of our short-term recommendations that we have within and provides a little bit more detail on it. So I'll just walk through them relatively quickly at this point. So the first one with respect to parking systems, and I've spoken a little bit about this, and it's about really cleaning up some of the back-end service providers and databases, ensuring that there's consistency across them. This is we anticipate to have improved user experience, reduce a number of the complications that are created right now because of the multiple providers, and help to reduce the amount of operational errors that we have. Due to a number of the contract renewals coming up, we feel that this is one of those things that can be integrated very quickly, but also not one that is going to create additional costs as a result of doing so. The next components are with respect to technology and facilities improvements. This, as I indicated, one of the elements is with respect to integrating and implementing more license plate reader technologies and to help support the enforcement procedures. This will help to reduce some of the errors that are currently happening within enforcement, as well as reducing the operating costs. So when we do license plate reader technology, we can now begin to integrate them into a vehicle so instead of having officers walking the streets, and we're able to have it enforced via vehicles. There is a cost that's associated with implementing this, but because of the reduction in the amount of labor that's required in order to balance it, the capital cost would be recouped within the short term. The next component is with or regards to some more facilities about integrating some gate controls within the parking garage in Ontario, that just to improve the compliance and reduce some of the operating costs. When we don't have the gate arms, it means that we have to enforce the parking garages with enforcement officers, whereas if we have the gate arms, that will help serve as the enforcement component to it. This will have not only a small capital cost involved in it, will have a savings in the amount of enforcement costs that are associated with in that garage. The next component is with respect to the operational improvements that we're recommending. And this is really focused at looking at overall replacing the contract enforcement officers that currently exist with in-house staff. This will allow for improved performance management as well as a better control of how they're deployed within the city. Overall, as we're integrating the technology into the system, we're also anticipating being able to reduce the number of enforcement officers that we do have on staff, while being able to provide a better system overall. And the last bit and recommendations with respect to this creating a sustainable fee structure. Three real key components on the fee structure that we focused on. The first one was with respect to special event parking, ensuring that the event rates that are being charged are reflective of not only the demands but also the costs required in order to provide the service, and ensuring that the user fees are reflective of the operating costs. The next component is with respect to the permit program. When we looked at this one, we did feel that there was a clear opportunity here to review how the permits are being issued, investigating, integrating new different types of permits that can better integrate the prevalence of working from home and be able to increase the amount of revenue, ensuring that we're not having parking spaces reserved for people who aren't necessarily there. And then the next component is with a more medium-term review of the hourly and daily rates within parking. And when we looked at this one, it was about really understanding when we begin to create and collect some of that data from the license plate readers and understanding where the various demand components and demand concentrations are, being able to implement some dynamic pricing to better manage that demand and turnover. And overall, that's going to end up creating an overall increase in the amount of revenue while reducing the cost of the overall tax base. So with that, and as we conclude, it's really important to highlight that, these recommendations that we provide is more than about just increasing the amount of parking or changing the service. It's really about ensuring that there's a long-term financial sustainability within the parking services. The goal here is to really create a parking system that's efficient, one that's modern, one that's really financially sustainable and minimizes the cost to the users, while integrating smart operations and encouraging a reduction to the overall reliance on the general tax base. Overall, by streamlining the operations, integrating technologies, aligning the fees with demands, we can really generate the amount of revenue that's needed to support the ongoing maintenance, the reinvestment, as well as the innovation within the system itself, all without creating additional burdens within the system. Overall, it reinforces that parking can be a strategic asset for the municipality, one that can fund itself, one that can support the broader city objectives, continuing to deliver good value for the residents, the businesses, and the visitors alike. Overall, able to create a system that's fair, one that's flexible, one that's financially sound, that's going to support wealth, not only for the users today, but those well into the future. So with that, I would love to highlight that we would recommend that you guys do go to our online survey that we've outlined, and this one's specifically for the business community. So it's http://stcatherines.ca/DT parking survey. Really give us your thoughts on how and some of the experiences that you do have with parking can very much help integrate into some of these recommendations and as we develop and move them forward. Overall, thank you for your time and appreciate the opportunity to come here and present for you.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Good stuff, Chris. Can we ask you a few questions or?
Absolutely.
Any questions, guys?
And if you don't have questions now, definitely please fill out there's definitely opportunities to provide comments as part of the survey. So, but always open to.
We just have a couple questions. David?
Can I ask you, you mentioned license plate recognition over and over again.
Mhm.
Could you expand on that? And I'm not too familiar with what you're thinking and how that'll relate to the average person that's parking downtown.
Yeah. So for the average person that's parking downtown, the great thing is they don't really notice any difference. The one big change that they will notice is they won't have as many incorrect tickets than they get. The license plate readers it's essentially a camera that gets mounted on a municipal vehicle. So as the enforcement officers are driving around in the parking areas, it picks up the license plate and it checks that against the databases of permits that have been issued. If the people have permits, it's a ding. The enforcement officers are able to continue on through within their route. If they do not have a permit, it makes another sound for them, and if they are able to stop, pull over, either issue a ticket at that point, or there are different opportunities now that we're able just to send the tickets in the mail. So it does open up a great degree of efficiency when it comes to the operations and enforcements, ensuring that not only do we able to minimize the number of different databases that the enforcement officers have to go through, but really being able to speed up the coverage of space for the enforcement officers.
Good stuff. Thank you. Joe?
I'm just wondering about, sorry if I missed it, but were the aesthetics of the parking areas discussed anywhere? And how important do you believe that is when we're looking at maybe the Garden Park parking lot, and throughout the nicest part of the year, we'll often have weeds that are getting close to knee height, trash in amongst the weeds, and broken sidewalks. What are your thoughts on the aesthetics and the importance of that to suggest value for money, people using the parking areas?
Yeah, and there is definitely a balance. Our focus is primarily on the service, so not the maintenance and the facilities component on through the parking services, but more on the operational components of it. Definitely having a well-maintained parking facilities does help not only make it attractive for somebody to use, but they also feel safer in the environment when they're in there. So it is definitely something that's very important. And yes, thank you for the comment.
Thanks.
Good stuff. We have, four more quick questions and we'll get you out of here. Oran?
There's no rush.
Maybe.
Yeah, a couple of the problems that we're having sometimes in the parking lot issues or parking areas is lighting. Simple things like making people feel comfortable and safe, especially when the days are short in the fall and winter time. That's always been a problem. So for example, on Westchester and St. Paul, that area, Ontario Street end, the parking there, that needs to be better lit up. It's lit up good, but it could be better to make people feel safe to go into that parking lot and utilize that parking. I think technology is good for some aspects, but I think some elderly people and some people that are not tech savvy are not adapting well to certain changes that are going on technology wise. Ontario Street Garage is strictly a honk application, and people are getting frustrated on a regular basis regarding that. They're just not, not working well with that particular garage. I think there should be other payment schedules or applications that people can use when they're visiting in the downtown core. I get a lot of complaints, especially when it's changed over to the honk and only honk app. The terminals that you guys put on certain street spots throughout the downtown core typically are working or not working. So people get frustrated with that and keep on coming into my store and figuring out, how do I pay to come and shop in your downtown? Those are not good questions.
Agreed.
All the demographics and all kinds of different people, like I said, even people that are not tech savvy, they don't understand how to use it. I can tell you, many people might say at the discussion level that the old ways of having the meter right at the post where you park was the most convenient and most easiest way to use. Particularly in the winter months or rainy days, when people have to get out of the car and they have to find a place to pay and get that piece of paper, go back to the car in the rain and put that thing on their dash. And then if they're stuck downtown and they need to go back to that terminal again to get another half an hour, it's an inconvenience. The other thing that's a problem with the downtown is that sometimes the snowbanks are not cleaned properly. So when people park, they're trying to find that thing and they're trying to jump over a snowbank to get to the terminal to pay for parking. It's one obstacle after another. When you had the meter right at the post, right where you park, put your money in and you go do your business. It was simple. But now you guys are getting into the tech savvy stuff and it doesn't agree with everybody, and also trying to consolidate where you're actually paying for a parking ticket doesn't work well. I'm right there in front. I can see the people, how they react every single day. Unless you're used to coming downtown, you don't get it. And it's one more thing is a deterrent for people to come in the downtown core. There's a lot more things I can talk about. I'll probably see you tonight at the meeting. But yeah, I wanted to say those things right now for the record for the Downtown Association. These are very much difficulties that I think it doesn't give the people incentives to come downtown, to be able to park freely, conveniently. You can go anywhere in the city now, you can pretty much park free in major shopping centers and stuff like that, but the downtown core needs a little more help.
And absolutely, I understand your comment, and that it's this very fine balance between it. And we are, as I said, we're looking at improving not only the efficiency of how the operations are being handled, but also improving the user experience for those that are understanding. Yes, there challenges. Absolutely, there are challenges. Are there ways that the facilities can be improved? There are. We understand, we recognize that, and we're moving towards that as the overall goal here. You mentioned the meters and the readers and components like that. As we move over, providing people options, so it's not just the single app, but having an app as an option. It really does. It's a certain segment of the population who doesn't like dealing with that, but it also is found to be improves the accessibility of parking for people who can't reach the readers, can't deal with it if they're in a seated position. Having the app option really does improve that overall accessibility of the parking. having the meters in a way that they are a license plate pay by plate instead of the pay by time. So instead of getting your ticket that you have to go back to your car, we're looking at doing is moving towards a pay by plate condition. So what that means is you are actually just putting in your plate. And once you put in your license plate on that, your ticket is issued at that point. It also does improve if you do use the app, the ability to, you need to add the extra half an hour. You can just go on your app and add the extra half an hour. You do not have to come back to your car to do that. So in one way, as we do move towards integrating some of these technologies and keeping them up to date, they will begin to improve some of those operations and some of those user experiences. There is some learning that does happen as people transition from the meters themselves that were at each of these spaces to these pay-by-plate systems. But overall, it does create an overall benefit and a lot of value that is integrated within the system, which is why the system is recommended to go that way. The old meters, there's a lot of challenges with them between vandalism, them being broken down, as well as having to deal with the sheer volume of coinage that you end up getting created as a result of those meters. So there was a lot of challenges that are integrated with those ones where you don't end up having that with the pay-by-plate system. So that's tends to be one of the recommendations and why we're moving over towards those and integrating those more broadly. But yeah, really thankful for all of your comments and definitely looking forward to how we can help improve them.
Good stuff. And Chris is here from, he's here as a consultant, which sees we can use the survey also to kind of put some of these points, so they actually have it documented and we can kind of work towards them. Let's go with Amy and then Stephen, and then I had a quick question and then we'll get you out of here.
Okay, my question was, you mentioned about you had some sort of incentives. Are you gonna also include shopping incentives? Like, so if someone were to shop downtown, would they have some sort of incentive payback on their parking?
So, just so I'm clear, because I mentioned two kind of different components on events. One was with respect to special events, so that's things like, there's an event at the Meridian Center or something like that when there's special event parking that goes on. That's something different. That's not that one. We're looking at ensuring that when we're providing parking for that the amount that's being charged for that flat rate is covering the cost of being able to operating that flat rate. The other bit was with respect to supporting community initiatives. Those ones are more like when, there's an event happening at Montebello Park and the Kiwanis needs some time. Being able to integrate for charity components, being able to support them by using the parking services as a tool to encourage activity and support the local charities.
Right, so I understood that. I was just wanting to say, are you going to implement something for the retail that's been there for a very long time, or retail that's just new? So when people to have people come downtown to shop.
That's not something that was identified or we included as part of the recommendations within our current parking service review.
Right, and then also too, with the parking garage on Garden Park, I'm assuming with the new building that has gone up that doesn't have parking, how much parking will they take up for this city parking lot?
So the great thing about residential is that the times that they will need parking will be opposite to the times that the office will often in the area will need parking. So it's very complementary in that manner. So what you end up having is two different demand profiles, and they peak at different times, and they allow you to be able to create a more well-used facility over time throughout the course. So what we're actually recommending is, seeing is that you wouldn't anticipate needing more. It's just a better use of what you have right now.
So the building wouldn't have like a permit situation? So it would just
not
be
for the
like,
building
if
itself.
they would pay daily for their parking? The people that
So-
live in that building?
So no, the people who if they choose to want to purchase permits, then that's as part of the permit process on things. But so if they want a monthly permit or something like that, but no, like it just the residential development is separate from the municipal parking.
Okay.
So in a sense, anyone downtown has the same access to those permits, whether it be the new residents or.
Right, but when you're bringing in that many new residents, the permits, I'm assuming if you have a car, you would get a permit, you wouldn't pay daily.
They,
You pay for a
they
permit.
pay for the same permit that other
Right.
people are, but I don't think, are there any permits available for that garage?
That's one of the issues that we have is that we have a lot of demand for the permits right now in the way that the permits are currently issued and the way the current permits are currently structured. So no, there's no more capacity to accommodate new permits.
Good stuff. Steven, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess a question and a comment. I'm hearing you talk about a parking system. And I really appreciate all the recommendations you're making with respect to consolidating a whole bunch of technology and bits and pieces around the town. But I don't hear system. Parking is a system that serves customers, people that drive their cars and move around and park and then go to businesses or live or whatever. And I didn't hear once during your presentation a word called customer.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I felt exists is there's a lack of coordination in City Hall around the customer. And I don't hear, and we've already heard today, that maintenance of a parking garage is not part of your business. Well, maintenance of a parking garage is part of the parking system. Who's going to look after the system as a whole? So that the customer that you're not talking about has a holistic appreciation of how they're going to integrate into this system. My sense is that just watching what's happened over the last 10 years is you don't know who to talk to in City Hall because there's no system. The person in finance and the person in engineering and the person over here and the person, they don't talk to one another.
Mhm.
When are you going to create a system with one responsible person or group that can integrate the maintenance of the parking lots, the rates that you're going to pay, the relationship between the residences and the customers, the residences and the daily customers? How is that going to be created? I have a very great concern that you're doing a great job on the technology, but frankly, when I'm in downtown Toronto and the arm doesn't go up, I get pretty quick response. I'm not so sure I'm gonna get that kind of response in downtown St. Catharines based on my previous experience. So looking at a system approach, not a technology approach,
Yeah.
and a system approach that says, we're dealing with customers that come downtown, they're office customers, they're residence customers, they're retail customers, they're dining customers, and they need to be treated as customers. And I'd like to see the management of this system talk about customers. And I haven't heard that yet. So that would be my comment, and I don't know if there's a question in there or not, but I hear a real gap with respect to customers.
Yeah, and I'd love to take a second to be able to respond to it, and just because I do feel we are beginning to address the problem. I think you can appreciate based on your comment that it is maybe a little bit of an iceberg to begin to chip away at. We are looking at improving that user experience. I did speak about user experience. We are looking at improving that user experience, both from the just at the terminal component of things to the back end, so that it is a smoother, cleaner system that people are dealing with. When there are complaints, when somebody does need to call somebody to get assistance, that there is a single system that they're calling into in order. It's not like, did I get my permit in Honk, or did I get it in iPark, or like, where am I getting who do I have to call? We're going to begin to clean some of those up so that there's not so much confusion for the user as part of that. To your point about there's a lot of people involved in parking at this within St. Catharines. This was something that we also did flag. It's not something that we had I'm going to say a near-term recommendation for within our parking studies, but it's something that we will have in our study that we are recommending that how parking services is structured within the city is reviewed internally so that there is a single group of people who are responsible for it. Because yes, right now you have people from finance and engineering and facilities, and everybody is kind of responsible for various different components. And in that, as you indicate, sometimes things get lost through the way. If you have a single person who's responsible for parking services and takes control of everything from the operations, the planning through to the maintenance components of things, you can begin to work together with a priority towards creating that user experience that is desirable and attractive for people to want to be a part of. So yes, we are working on it. We are recommending, but as I can say, we're beginning to take some of those initial steps, beginning to work through some of these recommendations are things that are going to take a little bit longer to implement. Some of them, like some of these technology components, are a little bit quicker and are going to have some more significant changes to how people are going to be interacting with the parking system. So that's kind of where some of what we spoke today about is going to focus, and a little bit about where some of the things are going to go in the future.
If I could just make one last comment.
Absolutely.
That the integration of the system, one responsible person should be recommendation one. That should happen tomorrow. All of the 5 technology things that you've talked about, who's going to integrate those? So the management system, the vision of the integrated system needs to be first on the list, not last, not 5 years from now, tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Because you're not going to create a system unless you've got somebody with a vision about the system you're creating. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Great point, Stephen. I mean, it's been on the table for years now. I mean, back when we had parking committees in the last study. The city does need to look at how they're managing it real quick. But Kat had a comment she just wanted to say. I know we're running short for time, but I wanted to get this in.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to answer all the questions. I just wanted to highlight that a concern with removing staff as a resident downtown, someone who works downtown. I know that having the presence of staff in the downtown area, whether it's at parking garages or the parking enforcers, it helps with the security of things that are happening in the downtown area. And my concern might be that if we're removing physical staff, that we might be looking at an increase of adding security or seeing additional problems arise from that. So I just wanted to make sure that was considered. Not really a question, just a comment.
And kind of on that, like what you probably will see is more of an increased presence in it, because right now what you have is a person who ends up having to walk the area. So it's a relatively slow procedure through it. So they can't be everywhere at once. Whereas if they're driving, they're able to cover more area more quickly. We're able to enforce on a more regular basis. You'll be able to see people on a regular more basis. So to that point, like it will be it will help to increase the presence that you will experience within the area on it, without having people walking.
Awesome, good stuff. David has a comment, but I have one question I just wanted to ask you about you mentioned about lost revenue last 4 years. Can you speak a little bit to that? Like, what were the driving factors for that? Was it an income issue? Was it our expenses went up drastically? Why was there no profit at the end of the day?
Yeah, so it's a combination of 2 components to it. Is that yes, the costs that are experienced by parking services have gone up over that period in time, and the revenues have not gone up in relation to that. So there has not been a balance on it. Between that, layered in with the number of different degrees of inefficiencies, it's one of those things that it's like a snowball will grow and grow and grow, and it will become more and more inefficient the longer you leave some of those inefficiencies. So that's what we're starting to see at this point within it, is that we're not getting the revenue growth that is covering off the inefficiencies that were pre-existing within the system.
Okay, and you don't, so it wasn't making as much money. The tax base normally carries it covers the underage or overage, whatever you want to say, the shortfall. What was the shortfall last year? Do you have a figure just so we have something to talk to the counselors about?
Yeah. So I guess previously to the last 4 years that parking was actually making money. It was contributing to a parking levy that they were being able to have on hand to help being able to offset capital costs and operating revenues. And over the last period in time, now we're using that levy to take off, to ensure that we're minimizing the amount of reliance on the tax base. At this point, moving forward, there is a reliance on the tax base. I off the top of my head, I think it's 250 to 500,000 that it's going to rely on the tax base.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. David, last comment, and then we get out of here.
2 quick comments. First of all, why are you recommending replacing the contract enforcement people with city hall staff? Why?
So, it's a couple things. First thing, there is some performance issues that we have within the contract enforcement officers, and because of the way that the contracts are run and operated, it does limit our ability to be able to address those performance issues. The next component is as we move through with improving and enhancing the amount of technology we have, we do anticipate being able to create a more efficient enforcement system that builds upon enforcement officers that the city already has, being able to create a pool of enforcement officers that is more efficient overall than just having a contract people who are specific for walking the on-street parking areas.
Thank you. One last comment. I may be a little bit crass, but I'm gonna ask, what did the city of St. Catharines pay your firm for this survey?
I believe it was 70.
We run a tight ship here. Sorry, what? 70K? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right, Chris, thank you so much. Great job. Way better than the last one, I gotta say. I was around for that one. And I love your service-based approach. That is key. I think it highlights a little bit, well, some of the board members we're talking about, Laurent and Stephen. But thank you very much and appreciate your time.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, you good? You know what I'm saying? You good? Yeah. This is Brian Appleby, guys. If anyone doesn't know him, he's city head of transportation, great guy, always around to answer any questions or very helpful.
And Stephen, your point about having one sort of,
Yeah, we've been saying that for at least 10 years.
we've been saying the same thing.
Parking authority.
Yeah, somebody needs to oversee it.
Parking
It's
authority.
very fractured. And that was one of the things that when we first started this, I said, we need to figure out. how to do that.
For what it's worth, I made that point to David last week.
Yeah.
So.
It's appreciated, but well.
I also think that parking needs to figure out more about the customer instead of all these special events to bring in people. I mean, there are businesses that are trying to survive downtown that also need those incentives, not just like the big,
The challenge, Amy, is that the city has kind of put their plan in place and they've kind of stuck to their guns. They've said that parking is not a city thing. Like they want to wash their hands of it. They don't want to say that we're focused on providing parking. And what I think, and you probably correct me on this, it goes back to the regional study where they want to have their 10-year plan or whatever it is. And the region has identified that we're focusing more on walkability, bikeability, and public transportation, and not focusing on parking or any type of, so that's why they're
they
removing
should
parking
look at like
spaces.
St. Catherine's demographic and the senior population, and they're not riding their bikes to the downtown core.
No,
Who is
you-
supporting your downtown?
You're absolutely right, and that goes to kind of what Brian's talking about, is that having one department in the city that manages this, because right now it's overseen by like 4 different people or 3 different departments or
Just
Four.
seems like all these different expenses are ridiculous.
Oh, sorry, so you know what, we're still in meeting, so let's, we'll get you out of here, thank you very much.
Yes, and thanks everybody, and please fill out the survey because all of that information.
Just want to point out that Jen had it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry, Jen, excuse me, we didn't see you there, just to Brian's point, can we have that link set up to the board, members, is that possible?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for the survey, perfect, sorry, Jen.
Sorry, I was just going to make a comment that I find it interesting that the very first option is basically slash and burning, the parking pseudo system that we have versus realizing that if we just invest in improving the downtown, we'll have so many more individuals coming here to fix the issue with parking. They will make money in parking when we have more individuals here. So I find it interesting that instead of focusing on improving the downtown to bring more people here, they're just focusing on cutting.
Well, yeah, I mean, and a great point, there's a bit of focus on the expenses right now, I think the last few years, the parking, with the integration of the multi-systems, they're spending, $7,000 on a lifter that comes out of the garage. It's definitely not, and they're not integrating with each other, so there needs to be kind of a strip back a little bit to get back to somehow, well, we're gonna turn a profit or make it worthwhile, having parking services. Because we don't want the tax base to take, cover for that. Did you guys have any other things, or can we move forward here? Yeah, good stuff, guys. No questions up top. Governance update. Karen?
Sure. So one of the things that we were working on developing with the staff is a method for reporting incidents. So we've got one in place, a form that we're looking at, which we'll bring to the table next month. And the staff is getting their input on it, and then we'll share it with you just to get that approved. So that they have something, and then that was the procedure to go with that, is that it would come to the executive. Either the chair or the executive, depending on the nature of the issue. And then we can either deal with it or bring it back here if need be. The code of conduct is almost finished. So it looks like our review should be done next week or for the next meeting. So maybe we'll save a little bit of time. We'll send it out ahead of time so that everybody can see what updates we've made to it.
Awesome, thank you. Executive committee update. Josh is not here. You wanna take
Yeah,
time?
of course. So we have 4 summer students coming in. 2 of them have already started. They're here with us until July 4th, and one of them is going to be staying as a Brock intern for 4 more weeks on top of that, unpaid. And then we have 2 other ones starting on July 7th. Thanks to the government for providing those. And then we have the Welcoming Streets Initiative. They did their soft launch last week. They're going to be doing a hard launch next week. They already have 2 people on the streets on a regular basis from 9 to 4:30, and I'm meeting them on Friday. Meeting with them on Friday to do a more in-depth launch to the businesses, and there's gonna be a regular communications that will go to you guys just for any updates that they might have from the street facing side of it, and then there'll also be public communications to our socials and through newsletter. And I'll have more on that on Friday.
Awesome. Welcome to Streets Initiative. Awesome thing, great thing.
Yeah.
Events, going back to Kat.
Yeah, so we had, it's not on here, but we had the red dress walk on May 5th. It was a great success, as well as we did the farewell party for Rachel a couple days before that. Holy is officially launched. We're at about 1,000 signed up right now, or close to. It's happening on June 14th. It's going to be in the parking lot of the Meridian Center. So I hope that if you guys haven't come before, please come, bring your kids, bring everyone you know. It's so much fun. We also have Y Media and FM. I forget the channel, it's in the executive report, but 2 big stations that hit the South Asian community in Toronto are gonna be in attendance. And it's really gonna broaden our reach to Toronto folks, so we're very excited about that. I see ice cream vendor on here. We were looking for an ice cream vendor for Holy. We're actually going to have some of our businesses pop up behind the Meridian Center. I think we have Lootology, we have Score Pizza. There's a couple more, plus our Indian restaurants. They're gonna be serving right at the event, and then we'll be circulating people throughout the downtown core too. So we're really excited to see that.
Nice, cool.
We could probably just do marketing update as well. So we launched a River Lions partnership where we had Duncan come around to the different businesses, and we've been having people guess where the businesses to give away prize packs. It's been really fun working with them. We also have been sending our media interns around to different stores to set up a shop Main Street Canada with a big signage that we're using. We did have stickers coming in. It was discussed in one of the board meetings, but the person that we ordered the stickers from, they ended up having something really weird happen with their company, and we haven't been able to get them in. So that's been delayed a little bit, but they're stickers that everyone can put into their business that just says, has a Canadian flag. And also, yeah, we talked last month about banners with Shop Local. I put together a little bit of a proposal for it. I apologize, I have it in streetscape and sustainability, just a little bit farther on the agenda, but I have put together a little bit of a proposal, what it would look like to get some Shop Local banners up. I mean, I could just pull it up now since I'm already talking about it. Sorry, I don't mean to get you too excited, I just have to organize a little bit.
While you get that loaded, Kat, I wanted to share, some people have messaged me about the vintage secondhand cards that we have out, saying they really love it. So I just
Awesome,
wanted to- yeah.
Thanks. So we have them here. If you guys should all have one in front of you. This is part of the tourism partnership with Niagara, which is wrapping up, we're wrapped up on May 31st. And it is going to bring people from the Stripes of Buffalo to Toronto to downtown St. Catharines to shop. And we had a local artist approach us. They created this, and it includes all of the vintage stores downtown. And it's being distributed from Buffalo and beyond in the States to Toronto. So we're glad to have that out.
Are you gonna do something for the non-vintage stuff?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is, people, there's been a few requests from over the years, actually, for a specific vintage trail, so that's kind of, and this was in works about a year ago, actually, if you can believe it. So it's been something that's kind of been talked about, and the grant that we got was able to make it come to life, but yes, I absolutely understand there's.
And I think
So
it
this is-
targets an audience too that once if they're brought downtown because of the vintage, they will spend more time and more money there. But just getting them there is going to be really helpful with that trail.
Definitely. Okay, so I put together some really quick numbers. There hasn't been a lot of time to focus on things. I want to give you an idea of what costs could look like, and then we can talk from there, how we actually work it out. Also, our numbers that we had for cost are based on a bunch of research and in-depth work that we did in 2023. So our numbers are a little out of date. So we've been calling people and trying to get updated numbers, and some of them have trickled in, and I've chosen the lowest numbers. So there are some businesses that we reached out to that we might not have gotten a quote yet from. So it's really just to give you an idea of what it looks like.
And are these local companies that you reached out to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we tend to, anytime where we hire anyone or do anything, we always do an RFQ with downtown businesses first, and then we reach out if we need to.
Awesome.
So in total, we have 144 locations for our banners. There's the main ones in the downtown, they're all the same size. There's 120 of them, they're the 22 by 48 inches ones, so those are the ones that you see just all throughout the downtown. And then, just going back, sorry, that number is really scary. You can see there's the bridge ones as well. They're a different beast. They're actually on a regional road, even though St. Paul Street is a regional road. The specific ones on the bridge involve a little bit more effort to go up, which is why you hardly ever see flags there. It's not something that is light of heart. The only person I believe that's only successfully gotten flags up was Victoria with Sport Niagara, for Canada Games and for there's another sporting event that went on. It's okay, but it was a big hassle, so it's not necessarily easy, but so I kind of split it down so we could look at both situations. So the goal for, and again, this is something I kind of whipped together because I really wanted to approach the idea of how fast can you get something up for Sport Local. I have actually, and again, it's lower down in the agenda, but I've reworked the sustainability committee. We reframed it as a beautification and placemaking committee. And the first task that we're taking on is creating a banner workforce or a banner working group to actually look at what this looks like. Like, this is really just something I slapped together. So there is more in depth coming, but I wanted you to see. Oh, it's disappeared on me. Sorry, it's on my screen and now it just disappeared. So that's just the way it goes.
That's a good question, Kat.
Yeah,
How many banners on the new bridge?
there are 24. And so there's 24, but the triangle ones, there's actually 2 on each side, so technically there's 36.
Sure.
But there's 12 on the actual bridge, so 6 on each side,
Yeah,
and then each of those have double triangles.
all that could be grander.
Yeah, and they're beautiful, like,
Yeah.
if we could cover the bridge, it would be awesome.
Could we ever sell them to
Yeah,
downtown?
Absolutely, yes.
Could we come up with some?
Yeah.
and,
So the purpose of the banner working group is really to figure out, first of all, it's going to be our community partners, so. The PAC regularly does banners, the city regularly does banners, the Niagara region. The Artist Center, there's Rain downtown, there's so many different resources that can help us populate banners. The Rotary Club does the Remembrance Day banners. We could look for sponsors, we could look for different partners. There's grants that I've already checked through the Tourism Partnership with Niagara that they would love to support initiatives like this. There are funding opportunities to help us get the banners up. It's just, it takes time to source all of that. And then because the PAC and the city and the region work regularly to put up banners, I'd love to have them on the page so that we can work together and coming up with a design and a plan. Because my overall dream would be that the Downtown Association manages the banner program, which we should be. We haven't really had banners up since before I started, which was 2019, or I think before COVID was when our last time we had the banners up through St. Catharines. And then we would have like standards that we would take care of everything, but we would ensure that anything that went up fit within the beautification standards for the banners.
Yeah,
So that's kind of going to be the purpose of the banner working group. So, sorry, I've got some money up here, so I just wanted to talk through it so it doesn't give anyone a heart attack. So this is just assuming that we blanketed the whole downtown. That price, the $6,715.20 is based on, I've got a breakdown here on the next slide. So this is just the marketer person. So this is the lowest rate that we were able to get for banners per banner. So I just assumed if we were gonna blanket all of the banners. Installation cost, we actually have been told that we could find much lower installation costs. So that is an extremely installation cost, which is why I've removed it right now from the banners. The bridge ones, again, they're a different beast because it's considered a regional road. So you have to get a permit. You need to shut down the road. You need to hire specific things in order to get the banners up on the bridge. And so they're a little bit more expensive with the extra fees. And then the printing of the triangle banners, that's the lowest price that we've been able to find so far per triangle banner. As you can see, it's fairly expensive. And the other ones are just a little bit bigger, so they're just a little bit more expensive to print as well. And that would be to cover the bridge. So that gets you to your total, and again, this is if we covered every single banner. Just for the banner print is that top number, and then the installation price is the number below that. So to do it in one fall swoop without finding any partners or doing anything, you're looking at $20,000 as a one-time go to cover all the banners. But there's obviously other solutions. We don't need to put up a banner on every single pole. This is something we can work to. We could do one every 5 poles. We could choose one street to.
Still not bad.
Yeah.
20 grand for a huge market, like that would like.
no, it seems reasonable to me, Kat. How long, if they were all new today, how long did they last? A year or
Well, that's.
more,
Yeah.
2 years?
Those are things to look into. The ones from the PAC have been up for about 2 years now, and they're still in fairly good condition. So I think that they do have an expiration date. We also have to work with other partners coming in. So for instance, this year we have the PAC, they're putting up, how many banners?
10th anniversary.
Yeah, they're the
I
10th
saw it
anniversary.
As I was walking over,
Yeah, oh, are they up now?
they're putting up the ones right around the pack.
Amazing. The Minto Cup's coming, so the city is purchasing banners all down St. Paul Street. The Niagara River Lines are gonna be purchasing a bunch. That happens throughout the year regularly, so we do need to develop that system and that working group, hopefully where we're all just able to communicate with each other and figure out what the future plan is. Or I'm sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. The one bridge. The problem with hanging those things up, they haven't been able to fasten it permanently or twice to take it down and put up, because when we had the world rowing, they all flew off.
Yeah,
Okay,
like in a
so,
day.
yeah, the first day, okay, and they all flew off, every single one of them. Okay, so that was a waste of time and money there, so it wasn't fastened properly, so that has to be done with somebody who knows what they're doing with that particular application. That's 1. 2, the materials that you're using for banners, there's 2 different kinds. There's the vinyl one and then there's a material one. The vinyl one tends to, I think, last longer, the material one eventually fades. Probably get out of it almost 2 years, approximately out of the material one, okay? The vinyl one tends to last longer, like you see the soldier.
Yeah.
If you go back, that was a vinyl one.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had a program that was putting that in the downtown core with certain notables of the city of St. Catharines. Various individuals between sporting. Their significance or contribution, what they've done in the city of St. Catharines. The first one was the vinyl one, okay? The other two, I believe, are vinyl as well at some point. The ones that Josh and I have in front of where we are is material, so they're not the vinyl ones. They're less money. I think it's 30 some dollars, I think I paid per banner. So you have to see which way we're going.
Oh, yeah,
We're going for the
definitely.
long term. With the vinyl, I think is better. Last longer. Well, certain other things that we're gonna be keeping up there, that's less manpower to take it up, you know.
Yeah.
up and down.
Well, I'll let you know, you are my first, once I get I've been away, but once I get the banner working group on, I have you first person to call, so
Yeah.
I hope you can find time to set
Jennifer
them.
looks like she's raising her hand. Okay.
Where is this 22,000? Is it budgeted?
No,
Is it-
that's, so I put
Is
this.
it for our future budget?
Yeah, so we do not have this.
Yeah, we always do, anyway, but,
One way or another.
so it's gonna be self-supporting, is that
Yeah,
what?
so we have not, we do not have a budget for this.
Okay, that's,
However, this is something that I wanted to give you an idea, because this is something that I really want to work towards building a plan for, and hopefully finding either through grant money or through partnerships with like the city or whatnot to help fund that.
Yeah, this is great. I
Plus-
mean, the region may sign on for helping install, like, you know, their economic development's fired up right now. Jen, your hand's been up. Let's just, sorry,
And Kate now.
and Kate.
It's all good. I just wanted to mention that, I don't know if this is still kind of a touchy subject. I know that we've, we're gonna have the planters, the flowers this year because we put the money in last year. Is that something that, money could come from? If we did a portion of something this year with grants and partners, kept doing that, and then maybe took money out of the flower basket budget for next year to do a bigger splash come springtime.
I think that there's a way probably to do both. I feel like it's up to you guys, of course, but personally, the hanging baskets are something I'm not sure would be like I feel like we would be able to do them both, and I'd love to have the opportunity to really have the time to put together the group and to look at different materials and different partners before we think about cutting that.
For sure, it's just more so the fact that, I know last year we had discussions because Port Dalhousie's had been covered by the city.
Oh, yeah.
Ours, we had to pay what was $11,000 or $12,000 towards it. That I don't know what happened with that with the city. I can't remember if they absorbed all the costs or if that we were still paying half while Port Dalhousie was paying nothing. But it's just more so, I'm not saying maybe get rid of all of them, just that maybe some of that money would be available, because I'm sure the banners would look spectacular up there on every post, kind of taking place of the flowers.
Can I respond to that really quick? Sorry, Karen. I just want to say, like, I'm aware of there might be an opportunity for us to advocate to have the city cover the cost of the hang baskets too, or in the future, that I think it's absolutely worth considering. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because, yeah, that's not right.
Good stuff. Good point. Yeah, Karen and then Katie. I'm sorry, Karen has it interrupt. Sorry, Katie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thanks, Kat, for putting this together, because I think it's just a ballpark idea. And all you're asking from us is this a good idea to go forward and put together a task force, right? You don't need any solutions from us yet,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
You just need to form the yay, go form a task force. Right.
Can I just ask a quick question? Who's gonna have on the flag?
So that's,
Just a dependent?
yeah, I think what's gonna end up happening is there will be an evergreen design that we come up with that will likely be working with the art galleries or different artists or something beautiful that represents the downtown. I'm not sure what it looks like. There's room on the task force.
So, yeah, so I think that's something like what
Yeah,
we're just talking
yeah.
about. The task force can decide, do we want fabric and change them every 2 years? Do we want vinyl and have them forever? Do we want 50 to 20? All of that is.
Yeah, but then there'll be consideration for the ones that rotate in, because there are ones that are like timely or that do the events that they would fit somewhere.
No, I was
within
just
the
trying to understand, because you had went to like a shop local
Oh, yeah.
thing banner, and then we were going into, so I was just confused if it was like a shop local thing,
Yeah.
or if it was like businesses and stuff.
So I guess that would bring me back to the original reason why this kind of populated, not that the banners haven't been on my mind for like the last 4 years. But at the last meeting, you guys really liked the idea of the downtown core standing up for the shop local course because of everything going on with the world. And there was a request to see if we could throw up some shop local banners. So if I think if that's something you guys still want to do in the short term, I think that the next step for me would be to see if we could find some money somewhere, or there's a grant available to even just do a little, because there's zero budget based on that now. However,
It might be like how Jen said, if we had St. Catherine's pay for the flowers, then you would have money.
but the budgets are already set. Yeah, that is the thing.
The other thing I was just thinking is if you can put together some artwork and make sure how this kind of works as a banner. And propose it maybe to the city and say, look, we need to get on the shop local thing. And because we're dealing with the tariff situation with the United States, and maybe it'd be an easy step to say, hey, could you participate
That's an
with us?
easier sell.
Yeah.
Economic development has some money, and so does
We
tourism.
do have the.
Can I chime in here too? I used to work for an organization called Barter Pay, which probably some folks around the table are familiar with on the B2B trading side, but they also have a really great nonprofit program where, so it's a B2B trading network. So if you're a business and you have a good or a service that is in excess, you can sell it on the network and get these Barter Pay credits back for it, and then use it to spend within the network. But they also have the nonprofit side where you can access these funds. I believe it's 25 cents on the dollar. And there's because I used to work there, I'm quite knowledgeable in what's readily available in the network and what's not. And one thing that's almost always available is printing. So and there's no cost to sign up or anything. So if it was $20,000 to print all of these things, our actual at cost would only be 5,000. So it's would be a way to like stretch our budget a bit further. And there's other options other than just printing that's on there. But it's a way to get creative, especially if we are able to get grant funding as well.
But man, this is great. Excited. I think everyone's excited, and it looks like we're gonna have some nice banners soon. So
I
that's
just have
awesome.
Jennifer has one question.
Oh, Jen, you got your hand up. Sorry. Last
Yeah,
one.
sorry. I just wanted to kind of tack on that, even getting it started a little bit, I think is very wise, because in the past, when we've had kind of a home run with the community on doing a good activation, whether it be, like actual events or things that we've put downtown, the city's kind of jumped on board. They've kind of like got really interested and wanted to be part of it, because of course people in the community I've been told myself that they've contacted the city to say they love the area, the alleyway heading to Garden Park parking, they love whatever. But I think that if we even got started a little bit, some of this might actually just start to take off on its own.
Yeah, do you think you could put together a mock-up of some sort of
Yes.
proposal?
Yeah.
Okay, using those instruments that you've got already, and let's see what we can do with the economic.
I actually have a meeting with Samir tomorrow morning and one with Karen later this week, so who knows, maybe we could.
So, big question then, I just want to follow up on that. Are you doing all of this now?
Yeah, exactly.
Or are you putting a task force to put this together?
I think that there's two things happening right now. So I think that there's the task force that's being put together for a long-term strategy, something that hopefully we could get rolling by next year and going forward. But then I think there's also like a short-term, let's see how many shop local banners we can get up.
Okay.
Just during the economic climate or the political climate right now.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Awesome. Love the energy, guys. Beautiful. Okay, moving forward, update on some financials. Just gonna go through it quick, guys. We had a 10,000 for the Obia conference and 5 grants coming back from the city. We had a grant for the Trees Canada planting, allowed us to buy a few tools. Marketing is a little high, but we have a matching grant. So we had to do a little bit of a bigger spend at the beginning. And our audit preparation is in process. Jen, do you have any updates for streetscape and sustainability?
I think that Kat had mentioned earlier that we're, talking about a name change. And we just talked about trying to kind of get on the same page of what types of beautification we'd like downtown. To just kind of like, if we redo the committee with a different name, like do we take a different approach, whatnot. So I'm sure there'll be more updates in a bit. It's just more so with losing Lindsay and, the shift with the staff and now maybe shifting the committee. We're kind of just in discussions right now.
I like the idea of beautification and,
Yeah.
and placemaking, which is.
It's more appropriate.
Yeah.
You can see it, it gets people excited. And you can't forget Noah. I see him out every day or whenever I see him, but seems to be every day. He's working on poles and doing stuff. He's got his little cart. I can't stress how beautiful or how awesome that is.
I'd love just to squiggle in there and add just one quick thing. With thanks to Noah, we've had a lot of positive response for our flower pot program over the years. And we've been able to double the ability to do it this year, not only to double it, but to also make it year round so that we'll have flower pots now in the fall and the winter. And we've already rolled out the first one for the summer. You guys will start to see the pots through the Downtown Association next week. I'm not sure how long the city will take, but they're coming soon as well. And then we were able to make $551 profit through that as well. So it's like
Nice.
that's with our budget that we'd already set, and it's going to be expanding throughout the year. So thanks to Noah for that as well.
Good stuff, good stuff. Advocacy update, Heritage Report is due, or is out, actually. The delegation is June 9th, so I encourage everybody to be there if you can, please.
In mass.
And where is it?
It's at City Hall.
City Council.
City Council.
It's a council.
Council meeting?
It's a council meeting.
So basically, the councilors are going to take questions and comments from, the public, and coupled by their study, they're gonna vote. And the GNCC has been quite active. They've set up a link for the local businesses and community to weigh in on some of the support for the Heritage Report. Some of the support for the reasons why we should look at the Heritage Report more closely. I'm trying to stay neutral here. I'm trying to stay neutral, we wanna, I think we all know where it's going though. So let's see, executive director update. So,
We comment, please.
sorry, yes.
With the report, Kat with help did a nice job putting this report together.
Yes.
I think that commend her on it and it makes, there's no idea where we stand. There's no discussion where we stand with it. Again, I've been very involved with it. We are total designation no, but after it's taken off the table, then we talk. Then we're prepared to talk. But right now, the focus is that total downtown designation, heritage designation be stopped. And we'll go from there.
Is the reason for the DTA to send out an email to all of our members one more time
That's
to make as a reminder of the
Delegation.
the council meeting?
yeah, I think so. That's
Please.
In time.
And it'll have to be diluted, strictly one banner, like Joe Tally right
But
there.
the agenda.
It's not all head and Joe,
The
it's
6th.
just
So
Joe Tally.
Good stuff.
No dilution.
it's, the chambers, they're the next door over.
Okay,
Yeah. Come to the office, we can walk.
okay, well.
Thank you,
Chamber
Kat.
has been a great partner with this and
Amazing.
supporting us.
Yeah,
One other group we're working on now, fairly large organization, we're looking for their support. To say, you know the overall, so.
What time?
We've
5?
got,
30?
we've
I have
got
20.
credibility in
Sometime
joining
to
council.
good stuff, good
While
stuff.
you're busy.
Guys, there is, an in camera, out of camera, in camera.
So you go, might want to finish this off and take the motion and then we can do it in the business. That's all.
All right, so, we need a motion to accept the reports as presented. Anyone want to, for going back to the heritage stuff, right? Joe and David, right? And, under new business, we just, oh, we need to vote on it.
Yeah.
So let's vote on it. All in favor?
Accepting the reports.
Accepting the reports here. Yeah, we're good. And, so that's passed. I guess we're moving into
So I
new,
make a motion to.
let's do it.
To move the session in camera.
Thank you.
Okay, someone second it?
Right, thank
All
you.
right, all right. Yes, the. Helm and. Yes.
Run.
Thank you.
Yes.
Run.
Run with
Not
it.
far.
We just, this approved your discussions for your compensation package, and we'd love to set something up at your convenience. Finalize that, and, yeah, we're excited.
Thank you. Can I say a quick thing?
Absolutely.
This process is something that just kind of came up unexpected in a sense, and just getting to know all you guys as board members and meeting with you and getting to know what you see the downtown and feel your passion has been probably one of the most exciting parts of my life so far, and I'm really excited to see what we can do together, and thank you for trusting the next term with me, and I look forward to hoping we can make some magic together.
Awesome.
We look forward to supporting you, Kat, and we want to be there for you when you need that kind of help, each of us.
Thank you. You
Done.
very supportive board.
Exciting times. Awesome, guys. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.